now.
Skinner, Executive Director of the Alliance for Consumers, Alliance for Consumers, and you go to allianceforconsumers.org, allianceforconsumers.org. So again, Executive Director of Alliance for Consumers. And he's joining us now to talk about a Supreme Court case that just caught my eye, and just got done with Steve Gorham from Climate Science Coalition. This ties into what's kind of a climate hour this hour. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Good. Yeah, thanks for joining us. So there's this Supreme Court's going to rule on, I can't even pronounce the Plaquemines.
Yeah, Plaquemines. I'm not a Louisiana expert, but there's one of these Louisiana local governments that, you can always guess which way they lean politically, that is suing a bunch of energy companies. And just like the rest of the woke lawfare campaign that the left is rolling out, they're trying to get an order from courts in Louisiana that say, give us billions of dollars and take away all the energy and oil production in our stretch of Louisiana and make it like it was never here. That's what the left really wants at the end of the day.
So when are they going to catch up to Europe, which is now realizing they've made a mistake with their green energy policies?
Well, what's really tough with all this is that at the end of the day, these are not lawsuits brought by like mainstream, liberals in Washington, right? There's a bunch of those guys that are a little kooky, but these are people that just fundamentally believe that this is a path to unlocking billions of dollars, like Green New Deal style, and punishing industries that they don't like, They have not caught up to it, in part, I think, because they see this as a ticket to a giant milk train where they can fund all of their dreams, and they can create the socialism that's never been tried. Right? That's the line that everybody always remembers.
Yeah, right.
They just think that if you get enough money, that you'll be able to create the utopia, and they'll have a Mondami style way to live life. Right?
Right. Because, this time it'll work. I mean, it's never been tried.
This time it'll work.
Yeah, bullcrap, it's never been tried. But, no, this time you've never been done right. Okay, right, whatever you say. So they're suing.
Go
ahead.
So what they're doing is they're suing all these energy companies. There's all these cases floating around. This one's a little bit different in the sense that they're just suing under some state laws about coastal restoration, but ultimately they want billions of dollars and an order forcing all the energy companies to rip their stuff up and leave, right? Which is the same thing you see from Boulder, Colorado. It's the same thing you see in Baltimore. It's the same thing you see all across the country. And the part that everyone has to be aware of is when conservatives keep winning at the ballot box, the response from the hardcore left activists is to go to the courts and try to get the Green New Deal through the courtroom, right? They're not giving up on their plan. They're just shifting how they're going to do it. And this is their plan. Their plan is to go into courts all across the country and unlock billions of dollars and punish the industries that are making it a little bit easier for people to live. Because, this. Ultimately, if you get control of the energy infrastructure in America, it becomes a lot easier to tell everyone you're using too much. It makes it a lot easier for you to tell everyone, I'm sorry, that's not available to you, right? And that's just the story of how they roll out their left-wing approach to life.
Yeah, we'll tell you what's good for you. So this is going to before this case, which is again Plaquemines
Parish.
Yeah. So it's Chevron versus Plaquemines Parish. They're going to decide whether. Well, go ahead. You explain what's.
Yeah. Right. Well, this is where you're going to hear a little bit of the lawyer nerd in me. But basically, the Supreme Court's going to hear the case probably in January, and they're going to decide in the spring whether or not this woke lawfare gets to proceed in state courts all across Louisiana, where the lefty side has already gotten $750 million from one of the judges in one of the courtrooms.
How much? Wait, what? How much?
Yeah. $745 million.
Oh, my word.
So when we say that the whole plan here is to unlock money for their left-wing causes, I mean, that's what you need. There you go. But the whole thing is if the Supreme Court says it goes forward in federal court, there's already a court case that says that these cases are going to lose. So if the Supreme Court weighs in favor of the energy companies, you're going to see the most likely thing is you're going to see all these cases in Louisiana die. that $745 million judgment, that gets wiped away because they got to start over. So it's going to, if the Supreme Court says, I'm so sorry, this has to be in federal court because, I forgot to say, all the energy companies did all of this energy production. This is like irrelevant to the world, but very important to the case. They did this all at the behest of the federal government during World War II. Because remember, the left doesn't really care what the vehicle is. They're suing energy companies for producing aviation fuel for airplanes on aircraft carriers in the 40s. Because they'll just go back as far as they need to create the biggest number possible, because this is all about punishing, the industries that aren't bending the knee, right? So anyway, it's all about production of aviation fuel in the 40s. It's got hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars at stake. And if the Supreme Court weighs in on the side of the energy companies, you're going to see these cases, almost without a doubt, die off and stop in Louisiana. And it would be a huge moment in the pushback against this woke lawfare campaign. Because we've never seen the Supreme Court take it up like this.
Climate lawfare, as it's called. Because they're doing lawfare and everything, and there just happens to be a subdivision of lawfare, climate lawfare. Now, so what's the principle? You wrote a piece on it.
Yes, I wrote a piece in one of the Harvard Law journals about it.
So I'm assuming then, obviously, you're the way I only have as your bio that you're the executive director of the the Alliance for Consumers, I should say. So I'm assuming you're also an attorney.
Yes, I used to be the Solicitor General in Arizona who used to argue at the Supreme Court.
Wow.
But I want to go back to something that you flagged here. It's climate lawfare, but as a consumer group, we talk a lot about how it's really woke lawfare, because at the end of the day, all these cases serve the same purpose. When they sue an energy company, it's climate lawfare. When they sue over plastic bottles on the beach in California, they're just trying to take away your straws, right? When they sue over guns, it's all part of the same campaign, which is they want to take away anything that you're doing that doesn't match mandated progressive lifestyle choices, right? If you're living a non-coastal elite lifestyle, they have a lawsuit for that. Whatever it is, right? So we're talking about it as woke lawfare because it's so much bigger than just climate change cases. Those happen to be their easiest way to do it. But yeah, so I wrote a piece in the Harvard, one of the Harvard Law journals, explaining how this case is a really big moment because it comes out of this woke lawfare strategy.
Okay, so if you were to argue this before the Supreme Court for us to win for the average, and this is why you're with the Alliance for Consumers, folks, because whether it's straws or energy, they're screwing over the consumer. You're the one getting hosed because you end up paying the higher cost for energy, can't have the consumer goods you need or want, and this is a handful of people deciding with their virtue signaling what you should and shouldn't be allowed to do. And really, ultimately, though, it's so damaging to the average consumer in terms of cost. So that's why the Alliance for Consumers is involved in this. But so you're before the Supreme Court. What are you arguing to help us win the case? What's your argument?
Well, so the main argument we're making is reminding the justices that this is about so much more than one energy company and one little parish in Louisiana, because it's so easy for people to lose sight of what these cases are really about. And so all the things that you just said, they're exactly what we're saying, which is this is about every single product on people's shelves. This is about people's ability to make their own choices, and it's about far more than climate change or energy companies. It's about everything else, because, again, if you're doing something that's not matching left-wing lifestyle, they've got a lawsuit for that, and it's important to set those things back because they'll keep coming until they make your lifestyle look like you live in California.
So here's a question I have for you. I heard this all the time when arguing over the voting in 2020 and all of that. You don't have standing. How do these people have standing?
Yeah. Well, that is one of the global questions in these cases, is whether they have standing. But one of the problems is that over the years, the left has created a lot of case law that says that if you're hurt by the environment or climate change, or you're hurt by pollution in any type, and so they try to make all their cases about that. But that's one of the crucial questions in a lot of these cases is it's related to standing. It's like it's standing, and we call it redressability. One of the crucial questions is if climate change is everywhere, how is one one party more responsible than another, and how's one judge supposed to stop it? If there's